I'm Martin from More Strategic, and today's video is about measuring profitability. Over the last 10-15 years, I've been keeping a great spreadsheet of annual reports from the top 100 charities in Australia. Each year I sit down, I trawl through all the data and I pull out the numbers, I put them into a spreadsheet and say, here's what's happening in the market. But the challenge with annual reports is they're not very detailed in terms of a breakdown of the type of fundraising, whether the money is coming from events or corporate sponsorships. Most charities don't break that down at all. And similarly, the expenditure side, I really don't know what goes into those figures. So really looking at annual reports is a bit like looking at apples and toasters. We don't really know what the comparability is, and so they're not a very good indication for our relative financial performance, which is what really matters. So what we've done is we've set out to collect data from charities using their management accounts at a much more granular and detailed level, broken down across their income, expenditures and salaries across different fundraising programs. We take all of this data, we give instructions and a spreadsheet to collect the data, put it all into a massive database and produce reports for our clients. Today I'm just going to share with you a couple of the results so you can see what some of the key measures are in the not-for-profit sector right now. Now often we just think about this one key measure of the cost-to-income ratio, but there's so much more we should be looking at in terms of our measurement of our financial performance. We need to be able to look at the income per head of population, so how well are we doing compared to other organisations, particularly if we're state-based. We need to look at the return we get for every dollar we spend on staff costs. We need to look at our growth rate, and we need to look at all of these figures based on our gross income, our income minus costs, and our income minus costs and salaries. So we actually look at our net performance compared to the market. Now I'm on a bit of a mission here. All too often we report on this one measure, the cost to income ratio. Can we just do something simple? Let's turn it upside down and talk about the income divided by the cost. If I say to somebody, every dollar you give, 33% goes on the cost of fundraising, that just doesn't sound very good. On the other hand, if we actually said, well, every dollar you give me allows me to go and raise another $3, so I'm multiplying your donation, it's so much better. And that's actually what we're doing. Every donation we get in, we're taking a $1 donation and turning it into $3 or $2.50. So by turning this upside down, we can look at actually what's our return for every dollar that we're investing. And you can see from this chart there's quite a variance in what that return is. Obviously our bequests are the highest area, despite the fact that we invest so little in that area, at $27.20, whereas our direct marketing programs are returning $3.15 and our events just over $2. So in normal language, if your cost income ratio, your events are at about a 50% cost income ratio. In this language, your direct marketing program, for every dollar somebody's giving you, you're creating $3 worth of value. Now, for those of you who think that fundraising is getting harder or getting more expensive and getting more risky and less certain, you're absolutely right. When we look at the returns over the last 5 years for the charities in our study, we can see a consistent decline in both the return on the direct costs of fundraising and the return in the overall cost of fundraising, including salaries. So fundraising is getting harder and it is getting more expensive, and your budgets should probably be reflecting that fact. One of the other key factors that we look at in this in our study is the mix. So where does the money come from amongst the charities? Now there are two different ways we can calculate this. We can take all the money from all the charities in the study and say how much came from direct marketing, in which case it's 38%. Or we can actually look at it and say, of all the charities, what percentage of their money came from direct marketing, in which case it's a little less and the events tend to be a bit higher. But overall, what we see is this key pattern where essentially most of the money is coming from most of the expensive forms of fundraising, because they're the ones that we can actually make specific, knowledgeable investments in for a relatively known return. So every time somebody says we should just do more in corporates or we should just get more major donors, that's great because they're great high return areas and we should certainly be looking at that. But the reality check is those areas deliver a very small percentage of the total fundraising revenue for the charities in our study. With this data, because we collected over a 5-year period for each charity, we can also look at trends in terms of growth. This chart shows us the relationship between the rate of increase in expenditure and the rate of increase in income. This means that they're in the sort of deceleration zone where they're having to spend more to raise, not less, but to raise disproportionately not as much as they're investing. And that's a sign of this increasing cost of fundraising and the fact that fundraising is getting harder. Now, so when we produce these reports, we create about 390 pages of charts all of which are summarised into a quick 2-page summary that you can show to your board or senior leadership to track your relative financial performance across multiple measures at a granular level for each of your fundraising programs. We also pull out specific reports for each fundraising activity. So you have an events report, a direct marketing report, which you can share with just that team so they can see how they're doing relative to everybody else. Most of the feedback we receive from the clients who've taken part in this study is that it's incredibly useful, particularly at a senior management and board level, to help show how you're going compared to the rest of the market. At the moment, we've got about 17 charities in the study with about $500 million worth of revenue going into the analysis. We'd love to have more. The more organisations we have, the more robust the analysis, the better it makes us. It makes us better able to do accurate budgeting with realistic expectations within our organisations in the future. Of course, these measures are really around our operational, our O data, about how we are actually performing in terms of our measurable income and expenditure and salary costs. We as not-for-profits are in the business of engaging people emotionally and delivering powerful, compelling experiences that make them want to support our causes. So we need to start developing more around our X data, the measures we have for our experience management. So talk to us if you want to know about how to measure the experiences your supporters are having with your organisation through our supporter engagement studies and our More Supporter Experiences platform. Because we believe that that's the future of our measurement systems, is not just measuring what's happened in the past and our financial performance, but being able to measure the X data, the experiences that people have with us. If you'd like any help with your fundraising, marketing or experience management platforms, get in touch with us. We'd love to work with you. In the meantime, if you want to chat to us about joining our profitability benchmarking, we'd love to have your data. Thanks very much.